Ladies and gents, welcome back. It's a happy Monday morning as CBC, the Crown Corporation, has been labeled as a government-funded media organization on Twitter. This comes after calls from many Canadians in the public and, of course, the official opposition leader himself, Pierre Poilievre. He celebrating this win today, breaking CBC officially exposed as government-funded media. Now people know that it is Trudeau propaganda, not news. Sign here to save $1 billion and defund the CBC. Boasting about this here. Now the Post Millennial writing an article, CBC labeled as government-funded media by Twitter. Twitter slapped the government-funded media label on CBC profile on Sunday following the same action being taken on both PBS and NPR accounts. According to Twitter, government-funded media is used for outlets where government provides some or all of outlets' funding and may have a varying degrees of government involvement over editorial content. Now, the CBC not very happy about this decision. CBC Radio Canada saying Twitter's own policy defines government-funded media as cases where the government may have varying degrees of government involvement over editorial content, which is clearly not the case with CBC Radio Canada. So they put out a statement saying that it's clearly not the case. Our own Prime Minister would probably disagree with that. Here's a statement he made years ago.
Now, you sometimes hear about liberal bias in the media these days, how they're constantly letting our government off the hook for no good reason. Frankly, I think that's insulting. It's clear that they let us off the hook for a very good reason, because we paid them $600 million.
Now, that's a little bit out of date because $600 million is not the figure. Of course, he's saying this in jest, but everybody knows the CBC. If you've tuned into the CBC, most people, you'll find yourself completely disagreeing with the propagandistic approach that they take to the news. Now, according to, and this is from the Post Millennial article further down, according to the outlets, 2021-2022 annual report, the CBC received $1.24 billion in government funding, and in addition to $651 million in revenue, mostly from advertising. CBC reported $1.39 billion in government funding and $504 million in revenue from the 2021 fiscal year, and you can check that out if you want to see right from the horse's mouth. This is CBC's reporting on that specifically. Recently, Twitter began attaching labels to accounts, choosing from a list of possibilities, including state-affiliated media, government-funded media, and publicly funded media. There have also been calls to attach the label to other outlets that receive government or public funding, including the BBC. CBC continued on their Twitter rant, objection to this whole new ruling. CBC Radio Canada is publicly funded through parliamentary appropriation that is voted on by all members of Parliament. Its editorial independence is protected in law in the Broadcasting Act, as we said in our statement from last week. And of course, I think you probably hear statements like this from NPR, PBS, Russia Today. I mean, would you believe Russia Today if they said they were completely independent? I don't know. That leave that up to you guys to answer in the comments down below. 3 of 3. In addition to our journalism, as is independent and subject to journalistic standards and practices, as well as independent complaints processed through the CBC Ombudsman. Wait, would that be the same ombudsman that said CBC breached journalistic standards by linking Russia to Freedom Convoy? Here's an article from the True North. The CBC Ombudsman ruled that it was disappointed that programmers linked Russia to the Freedom Convoy during a Power and Politics segment with Liberal Public Safety Minister Marco Mendicino in January. The October 6th review by Ombudsman Jack Nagler followed a complaint against CBC News anchor Neil Coxall by viewers James Sally. During that episode, Coxall asked without any substantiating evidence whether Russian actors were involved in organizing the convoy. I do ask that because, given Canada's support of Ukraine in this current crisis with Russia, I don't know if it's far-fetched to ask, but is there concern that Russian actors could be continuing to fuel this as the protest grows, but perhaps even in instigating it from the onset, claimed Coxall in a question. These are these weird questions that start with a presupposition and leave you believing a thing. It's called propaganda. This is how this works. Also here, CBC reporter accused local paper of Islamophobia, complained of all white editors. Another article from True North here. Again, links in this always in the description down below if you want to read these whole articles. CBC reporter is being cited for allegedly breaching the public broadcaster's code of conduct by slamming a competing news outlet for having all white editors. According to Blacklock's reporter, CBC correspondent for Kitchener-Waterloo, Ontario, Anam Latif, complained against the local paper in Waterloo, the local paper Waterloo Record. So CBC has kind of a track record of being directly towing the government's lines here. Now, an article from the Western Standard talking about the same thing here shows the Conservatives start off by saying that CBC undercuts private sector and independent media and competes for advertising space while receiving more than $1 billion in direct taxpayer subsidies per annum. Mind you, this is per year. They get over $1 billion from the government to run the show, and this is the material that we're getting from it. And whereas the CBC mostly provides opinions and coverage that are widely available in a free and competitive media marketplace, said the Conservatives, it would be easy enough for them to run propaganda on their own. But here we are as taxpayers footing the bill to the tune of over $1 billion per year, 1.25, $1.4 billion respective years. Therefore, be it resolved that we call on this Liberal government to defund the CBC to save taxpayer dollars and ensure a free and competitive press in the Canadian media landscape. Radio Canada, CBC News, and CBC News Alerts accounts have not received government-funded media labels just yet. Yeah, that's it. So we have here Jordan Peterson also chiming in on this whole thing. A Twitter triumph for Justin Trudeau and indeed all Canadians. Elon Musk has awarded CBC the prestigious government-funded media designation. Our humble local broadcaster joins luminaries such as NPR in receipt of this singular honor. Veritable shades of bravada, of course, and lots of great comments following in behind there. So you can go to the CBC News. You can check this out for yourself on Twitter. Again, always links in the description down below, but we have here the CBC official Twitter brings you the best of Canada, the best propaganda in Canada. Absolutely. Government funded media. That's the big warning here for anybody watching this. Believe that we should be seeing a gray mark here, not a journalist mark, but a gray as in government media. Things are evolving at Twitter and things are not moving quick enough. You will see, of course, on every tweet, it'll say government funded media, just to let you know that this is definitely not something that comes independently from their own sources. However, you could go look at their other Twitter accounts and you won't see the same thing. And boy, is there a lot of accounts. We've got CBC News, we've got CBC Canadian News, we've got CBC News Alerts, we've got CBC News National. CBC British Columbia, CBC Radio. We've got CBC Sports, CBC Politics, CBC Vancouver, CBC North, CBC none of it, and CBC Arts. And the list keeps going on. I love this one. It's CBC Arts, paid for by the tax dollars. Not even artistic enough to put up a artistic background on their Twitter. Good golly, that's just fantastic. What great work they're doing over there at the CBC. But let me know in the comments down below. What do you think of this whole situation? Does it even make a difference if it's labeled CBC as a government-funded media? I think it does. I think it's important that on these social medias, there's community feedback, and that's something else that's been going on Twitter. You'll notice that under certain tweets, there'll be actual editor's notes from the community, not fact checks like you find on the other social media platforms. No, these are actually community notes to warn you against possible fake news that you could be receiving, things like that. And I think Twitter is coming around, and there's good things happening. There's good things happening moving forward. Anyway, leave a comment in the comment section down below. Let me know what you think of this whole CBC government-funded media debacle. And, well, we'll see you in the next one. Keep on trucking.